Hey everyone, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Keisha and today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in the month of July. So before we get started today, I do have a little bit of an announcement. It is not a happy announcement, but I do kind of want to let everybody know what is going on. So my posting on Bookstagram and BookTube have both been a little bit sporadic lately, and I wanted to kind of let everybody know what was going on. So my posting going forward may be more, maybe less, but it's definitely probably not gonna be anything cohesive. So I just wanted to let you guys know that just this past week, I resigned from my job as the children's librarian at my library. I was in that role for a year and about 8 months, and ultimately I loved my job. I loved my kids. I think any of you guys out there that know me or that have gotten to know me through my videos or anything else know how much I absolutely loved what I did. Unfortunately, there were some things behind the scenes going on that I guess more or less, without saying too much, were not able to be fixed. And so I felt that I had no choice but to leave for my mental health, and honestly more for like mental and physical health both, because they were kind of starting to overlap. So unfortunately, I had to leave a job that I cared a lot about, but the good thing is I don't have to leave my kids. I am still venturing out to be a part of some of the kids' lives that I was able to meet and these families. And I'm so very blessed that they would still have me as a part of their lives. So going forward, I'm not really sure what life is going to look like. I'm not sure where I'm going to end up next, but I have high hopes that God is going to work all of this out for the good, and all of this was for a purpose. And so I am positive going forward, even though I'm definitely grieving the loss of a job and experience that was just very near and dear to my heart. But I wanted all of you guys to know, just because I know there will be some changes going forward, and I will also update you whenever I know anything more about what my life is going to look like in the future. I do have my master's in library science, so I hope to end up in a library again one day. That may just not happen right after. But anyways, without further ado, there's my life update. But let's go ahead and get into the books that I read in the month of July. So the first book that I want to talk about is The Maidens by Michaelides. So you guys know that The Silent Patient by him is one of my favorite books of all time. It's one of my favorite thrillers, and it is probably, now it falls in the third favorite plot twist that I have ever read. Right behind The Last Time I Lied as number 1, and number 2 would be Sometimes I Lie. So The Last Time I Lied is by Riley Sager, Sometimes I Lie is by Alice Feeney. Clearly I like lies in book titles. But anyways, so this is Michaelides' second novel, and it follows a girl named Mariana, and Mariana is convinced that Professor Edward Fosca is a murderer. See, her niece goes to Cambridge University, and her niece has a friend who has wound up dead, and that niece was a part of, or not the niece, but the niece's friend was a part of this society, the secret society of women called the Maidens, and Professor Fosca kind of oversees that society. And so Mariana thinks that they definitely have something to do with this, or that the professor has something to do with this, and so she is basically set on trying to figure this out. Now, Mariana is a psychotherapist, I believe, just like in The Silent Patient, Theo was a psychotherapist. Maybe it's not psychotherapist, but she is something in therapy. She's a group therapist. So I love that it's kind of like the same vibes as The Silent Patient. And if you have read The Silent Patient, I definitely think that you should check this one out. There is an Easter egg to that book in this one as well, and I really enjoyed that. I thought this was a really well-written book. I really like Michaelides' writing. There's just something about it. It's not necessarily fast-paced, but it's not slow either. See, there are short chapters in this book, and I feel like short chapters always make a book go by quicker, but also it's still kind of a slower pace, even though there's shorter chapters. But I don't know, it's really good, and there's just something about him that I really enjoy in his writing. So I definitely feel like he's an auto-buy author for me, which is why I picked up The Maidens, and I will pick up anything else that he writes. I gave this book 4 stars out of 5. It did not quite live up to The Silent Patient. It did not have the punch that I felt like the twist in The Silent Patient had, but I have heard people say they liked this one better than The Silent Patient. So if you didn't like The Silent Patient, you might like this one. Or if you did like The Silent Patient, I don't know, where you would either probably like this one more or less than the other. It seems to be kind of one of the two. But I did still really enjoy this one. I kind of saw what was coming, like the twist coming a little bit. I was skeptical, but he does a really good job of like keeping you guessing the whole way through. I did really enjoy the Greek mythology elements that were in here as well. I do feel like they were a little bit disconnected at times, but overall, I think they're really cool. And I guess that's about all I have to say about it. But yeah, it was 4 out of 5 stars. If you are looking for a good mystery thriller that has a little bit of Greek mythology thrown in, then you should definitely pick this one up. The next book that I would like to talk about is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. I did this as a buddy read with my friends Ashley and Tegan from the BIBLIOS podcast. If you have not checked out their podcast, I'm going to go ahead and link it in the description because I love it. And also, I have a podcast episode on there as well. If you would like to check that one out, it was where I talked about my job, which I no longer have that job, but I still think it's really interesting to hear about what it's like working in a library, and I give some middle grade recommendations and things like that. So if you want to check that out, definitely give it a listen. But they also have some really awesome, okay, I'm going to put the book down because I'm talking about BIBLIOS, but so BIBLIOS podcast, they have some author interviews on there. I know a couple that they have interviewed are Paul Tremblay, Darby Kane, who else? I'm trying to think. Like, I know a couple they have coming up, so I don't want to like spoil anything. Okay, I know who's coming up, but I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to say any more. But definitely check those ladies out. They are incredible. And so yeah, there's my little shameless plug for BIBLIOS. But I read this with Ashley and Tegan, and I know this is such a well-loved book in the book community, especially by those of you who read middle grade. I know that there are a lot of teachers out there that really love this book and use it in their classroom. However, I am not of the popular opinion here. I didn't like this book. I definitely think it is a personal opinion. This is personal taste. I think that objectively, I can see the merit in this book. It does have a Newbery medal, so I definitely can see the merit, but I DNF'd it, so I don't have a rating for you. I feel like objectively, I could see how people would rate it 4 or 5 stars, but here's the deal. I'm not a huge fan. I apologize if you guys can hear, like, it sounds like a weed eater or something in the background. I don't know why. I think it's across the street. It's not in my yard, but I apologize if you guys can hear that. Anyways, I'm moving very much away from fairy tale-esque stories. There are some that I really enjoy, like The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert, and I don't know what else do I have on my shelves. I like some like classics and stuff like that, but this read very much like a fairy tale classic, and I can see how it's a modern classic, but there was something about it that I just could not get into. Like I wasn't meshing well with the book. It just felt, I don't really know how to describe it. For those of you who have read it, you know what it feels like, but I just could not mesh with this environment. This is about, I honestly can't even tell you what this is about because that's how disconnected I was to the story. It says, well, I don't want to read all of this, but there's like the people of the protectorate, they leave a baby in the forest, and this witch comes and collects the babies, and she feeds them starlight and then delivers them to the town like on the other side of the woods because she thinks these people are like abandoning their babies, and they feel like they're offering it up to this mean witch, and the witch isn't mean. But anyway, she feeds the baby starlight, and then one day she accidentally feeds this one baby moonlight, and her name is Luna. So Luna, moonlight kind of goes hand in hand. There's a dragon in the story. There's like a swamp monster. There's a witch. If that sounds good to you, which it sounded interesting to me, but like, I just didn't mesh with it. I really don't have a good excuse. Like I said, I think this is definitely personal taste. It read really slow. I don't even know how far into this I got. Not even 100 pages, but like I was pretty close. And I was just bored. To be honest, I was really bored and not invested. So I put it down. And unfortunately, that was just a really bad first buddy read between Ashley, Tegan, and I. But hopefully our next one will be better. But yeah, I don't have much to say about this book. I know I'm an unpopular opinion, but I would love to know your thoughts on this if you've read it. Especially if you didn't like it. I want to know like if we had similar feelings about it. But yeah, this one just wasn't for me. The next book that I read was My Own World. I can't remember the author's name, but I am going to put a picture up on the screen. So I couldn't tell you what this book was about either. I gave it 1 star. It is a new graphic novel, and I love graphic novels, so I'm always excited to pick up new ones. But I felt the art in this story was really interesting. The illustrations were really good, and the story was interesting. but I honestly, like, it wasn't told really well. I could not tell you what this book is about. I'm not going to spend time trying to figure out how to tell you what it was about. I know it was about like a heavy topic, and it was like kind of grief or loneliness or something. And I literally just read this, but that's how much it impacted me. Hardly at all. I just didn't mesh well with it. I think this author is popular, but this is like, oh, I know what it is. He helped with like the Wings of Fire. I can't remember if he wrote Wings of Fire, or I think he wrote the Wings of Fire series or illustrated or something. But this was just not it. This graphic novel, do not recommend. I don't get it. I just don't get it. So anyways, that one was kind of let down too. Then I have Hairpin Bridge by Taylor Adams. So I read No Exit last year and I really enjoyed it. But upon further reflection, I can see how Taylor Adams probably isn't an author that I will pick up again. He's not one that I really enjoy. And I think that's because his writing is very much like a movie script. And I feel like he would do really well to write movies. If you already know this, this may come as no surprise. But if you don't, No Exit is actually going to be a Hulu movie, which I'm really excited to watch. But he definitely writes more in a way that is super descriptive, really drawn out. I gave No Exit 4.5 or 5 out of 5 stars, I think, but now upon further review, I think I would rate it like a 3.5 or a 4. And then Hairpin Bridge, I ended up giving like a 3, and that's just because there were scenes that were really long and drawn out. There was a lot of like blood and gore and just like gunfights and stuff that like something fell and scared me. Sorry. Anyways, I could definitely tell that a man wrote this book. It's just, I didn't enjoy it as much. The premise was really good. I thought the beginning was good. The first half of the book, I was really invested. The second half of the book, I didn't care. The ending was fine. I don't think it was a bad ending. I just, at that point, was ready for it to be over. But if you don't know, this book is about a girl who has a twin sister, and her twin sister has jumped off of Hairpin Bridge and committed suicide, but she just does not believe that her sister would have committed suicide, so she goes to investigate what actually happened. She meets up with a cop there and meets him at the bridge and tries to figure out what is going on or what happened to her sister. And it bounces back and forth between like what happened then and now, kind of. The main character is like writing a blog post, and so she's kind of like writing stuff before she goes and then writing stuff after, and then just, I can't explain it. It kind of flip-flops. It doesn't necessarily flip timelines, but it kind of flips timelines. I don't know how to explain this, but it's really interesting the way it's written. But I don't know. I just don't think Taylor Adams is for me. I do think a lot of people would enjoy this if you don't mind some of the things that I already mentioned. But it read more like a movie script. So I really hope that it does get turned into a movie, just like not Hairpin Bridge, but No Exit did, just because I think it would be better that way and maybe a little bit more action, fast paced, but it just did not translate well as a novel. So those are my thoughts on that one. If you liked No Exit, I definitely think you should try Hairpin Bridge because you might enjoy it, but I don't think I will be picking up any more Taylor Adams just because out of like my personal taste, it's not my favorite thing to read, but I do see the merit in his work as well. Next up, I read quite a few Avatar graphic novels. So I mentioned in my last video that I have really been into Avatar: The Last Airbender. I grew up with Avatar. Well, I didn't grow up with Avatar. I grew up with Avatar being on television, but I never watched it, didn't care about it. Watched it as an adult, and now I'm obsessed. Like, give me all the Avatar things. So there are some graphic novels that take place. Some of them are like between the series, like stuff that happens in between different episodes or different books in the series. And then there are some that happen like a year after the series ended, which those are my favorites. So I'm gonna have to read these off because I read like 6 Avatar books. So I will try to pop them up on the screen really quickly, but I'm not gonna talk too much in depth about them. The first one is Avatar: The Lost Adventures. This took place during the series, like the TV series, so it's like just little mini adventures in between episodes. I gave this one 4 stars. I thought it was really good. Then Team Avatar Tales is the next one that I read. This also kind of takes place between episodes in the series. I did not like the art style in this one. I don't like when different artists like try to redo the Avatar illustrations or whatever, or the art style. I don't like it, and so I felt like it was very disconnected because of that, and I feel like I would have enjoyed it a little bit better had the illustrations been better, but they just weren't, and honestly the stories were just kind of okay. The next one is Katara and the Pirate Silver. I really liked this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It took place between a couple episodes as well in the series, and I enjoyed seeing Katara kind of like in her own element away from the other team members for a little bit. That was really good. And then the next 3 were my favorites. So the first one is The Promise, which takes place a year after Avatar, and this one kind of deals with how, well, I can't say this. If you haven't watched the Avatar series, I'm not going to tell you what these are about, because I do think you should watch the Avatar series. It's very good. As an adult, you'll catch things that you wouldn't have caught as a kid, and so I definitely think it works for adults as well. Please check it out. The hype, it's real and it's worth it. So it lives up. But The Promise, I gave 5 stars. The Search, I also gave 5 stars. This was my favorite. Zuko is like one of my favorite characters. If you want to know, Iroh's my favorite. Zuko's my second favorite. And then, this was so hard. I think I like Toph next. I still like the main like Team Avatar members other than Toph, like Katara and Aang and Sokka. They're fun. But like, I don't know. How do you not like Iroh? And especially someone like me who just loves tea, and then Iroh, and then, I don't know, and then Zuko. Oh, I just love them. So this was my favorite of all of them, The Search. And then the next one is The Rift, and this one follows Toph. And I thought this one was really good as well. I gave it 5 stars. So those are all of the Avatar graphic novels that I read over this month. They were really, really good. Like I said, highly recommend the series, highly recommend the books. I'm also watching The Legend of Korra, but it's just not the same. So don't like it as much. There are episodes that are okay, but it's just trash in comparison. Next up, I read Poison for Breakfast by Lemony Snicket. This is an advanced reader copy. This book does not come out until August 31st, I believe. Let me see. I know it comes out this month. It's already August. For those of you who haven't caught on yet, it's like August 8th, 7th, I think. So this book, well, I thought I was going to tell you guys when it came out. Maybe I won't. Okay, well, I think it's the end of the month. It doesn't have like the exact date. It just says August 2021. But anyways, some of you guys may be familiar with Lemony Snicket. He wrote a series of unfortunate events, which I loved as a child. I did not ever go through all of them, but I'm working on collecting them so I can read the entire series. He also wrote a couple of children's picture books. The Dark is one of my favorites. And then he also wrote this other series that's middle grade, but I can't remember what it's called. You guys probably know what it is, but I don't. This one it's said to be for readers of all ages. I'm not sure where this would be shelved in a library. I would shelve it in adult just because I feel like an adult or a young adult would enjoy this more, but I feel like it will probably end up being shelved in middle grade just because all of his other books are middle grade or for children. But this book is about Lemony himself, and it is as true as Lemony himself is. And he wakes up one morning and he has breakfast, and then he gets up and he finds a note on his floor that says, "You just had poison for breakfast." So he goes on this journey to figure out kind of like what's going on. He's trying to solve the mystery of his own demise, and he takes you through a really thought-provoking journey. This is very philosophical, and I love, like, okay, so you guys know how in a series of unfortunate events, he would like say a word and then define it. So like it says, this book is about bewilderment, a word which here means the feeling of being bewildered. And bewildered is a word which here means you don't have any idea what is happening. And you is a word which doesn't just mean you. Like, I love the way that he writes. It's so stinking good. And there are so many, I wish I could like flip to one just to tell you, but there are so many things that make you think in here. Like there's a time where he talks about your finest hour in life, and he's like, do you really know when your finest hour is? Has it already passed? Is it still to come? At the end of your life, or at the end of our lives, will we get to see what our finest hour was? And was it something that we would recognize it as that or not? I just think that's really interesting. It really makes you think. So all through this time of trying to figure out how he had poison for breakfast, why he had poison, who poisoned him, what was the poison in, and the different things that he ate. It's really interesting. It's a short book. I read it in one sitting. I thought it was really good. I gave it 3 stars just for what it was. I feel like it's a good book. I don't feel like it was anything just mind-blowing, but it was really thought-provoking, and I did really enjoy it. So I would recommend this one if you like Lemony Snicket especially. I think you will definitely enjoy this. The last book that I want to talk about is The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. Now, I have not finished this book yet, but I did start it in July, and I'm really excited about it because I'm really enjoying it so far. I've gotten about 100 pages in, and I had to return it to the library because I'm getting it from another library. And so I'm waiting on it. I'm on hold for it right now. So it's just driving me crazy because I'm really enjoying it. But I read the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix last year, and it was a wild ride. Like, it's not one of my favorite books, but it is one of the most memorable books I've ever read, and I talk about it all the time. So this book, The Final Girl Support Group, is about this group of women who have met together for the past 16 years. They are each final girls, and they are final girls in different situations that they've been in. And they meet for this support group, and then all of a sudden one of the girls ends up missing, and they find out like somebody's targeting the final girls, and they're trying to like kill them off now. And what I find so interesting about this book is that we see in horror movies, so okay, this book is very much like 80s slasher film, so think like Scream or Halloween or things like that. But what I find so interesting is in those movies, you see everything leading up to the final girl. Like, you see her experience, and then you see she's the final girl, and that's really all you see. But this book explores what a final girl's life looks like after all of this traumatic stuff has happened. And it's so interesting to see how it's impacted all of these different women and how they handle their life. And the main character, like, she is so paranoid about everything, which I'm like, honestly, if this stuff would have happened to me, would I probably not be the same way? You know, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, like, hopefully I'll never have to find that out. But I just think it's really interesting to see how these women experience life as a final girl, like afterwards, and how they change. I don't know. It's so interesting. So I'm really excited. I feel like it could potentially be a 5-star read. So I'm excited to continue that one in August. All right, y'all, that is all of the books that I read in the month of July. If you read any of these books, let me know what you thought about them, or if you're interested in any of them, let me know in the comments. Also, I would love to know what your favorite book that you read in July is. I always enjoy talking to you guys about your reads and what you enjoyed and what you haven't, and if we have any similar reviews or anything like that. So don't forget to leave a comment down below, and if you like this video, go ahead and like it, hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more videos from me. And yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for watching. I love making these videos, and I will be around. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be posting more or less because my life is a little chaotic right now. But I just wanted to say thank you for the support. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so excited to be making more content for you guys hopefully soon. I've got a couple of really exciting videos coming out. So stick around, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, friends.